Another day, and another video added to the backlog of mindless ramblings about video games. So, what I wanted to talk about today was an idea that is hard on paper, I would believe, but there has been a couple of instances of it working out, which gave me the inspiration of thinking about it. Um, a gameplay what if of combining previous maps and locations from a game in a series and letting you revisit it in like the current sequel. I gotta streamline that a little better. Basically, my example is for the Assassin's Creed games. Let's say take Black Flag or Rogue for example. It'd be nice if there was a way to revisit the America's maps in there and re-explore them with Edward Kenway or Shea. You kind of do that technically in Rogue because they reused the New York map, but there's no Boston map. You can't go back to the Caribbean, etc., etc. It'd be nice if there was something like that because I don't know, it'd just be kind of cool to go back to an older map, especially if it's like slightly spiced up with some better graphics. I mean, just take like say Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies with Black Ops 3 being one of the better ones. One of the cool things about that is they have the Zombie Chronicles pack that let you revisit the older maps from the older games, but they were updated with better graphics. Now, I'm not saying better graphics, though. I'm talking about something really simple as, like with the same engine as the Ezio trilogy, just being able to revisit Florence or Venice or Romani, completely forgot that fucking map. Just revisit those maps whenever you want, because I'd reckon besides the graphics, I'd like to think the map data would probably be more or less the same. I'd hope, but I'm inspired by it because of two games. One is the GTA Underground mod, I believe. I saw some articles about that in the past, and unfortunately, how it got canned because of shitty fucking Rockstar. GG guys, way to treat your fucking fans that are trying to keep your older games alive. But modders, were able to just add in these maps into like San Andreas, whatever be semi like lore esque friendly by you just going to an airport and traveling there, or some other mods where they just add in like expansive and convoluted highways, or another game that's a little bit more well done in that matter. Tales of Two Wastelands. To those of you that don't know what that is, Tales of Two Wastelands is a massive mod that combines both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. It's like one of those mods that's like I played a little bit of, and I wish I would have played a lot more of it because I just think the idea is fucking amazing. Basically, they just took the Fallout New Vegas engine, like that's far superior to 3, and it works on way more systems, and they just carried everything over from 3 into it. The weapons, the perks, the armors, the environments, the stories, dialogue, just everything. Basically, if you manage to get both games for cheap, you can just combine two games into one and have the benefits of everything. The great perks and weapons from the first game into the better like weapon, the ammo crafting system, the better repairing, the skills and all that shit from the second one. It's really well done. No doubt there's been extra updates in the past for it, but I just like the idea of them just combining the games, or at least the maps from like the older games, or at least a couple years old that still have the same engine, and just putting it in the one. I know if my co-host here, he always had the dream of somehow if Insomniac managed to do it, would just have all the Ratchet and Clank games into one, so you can revisit the older maps, use all the older guns, experience all the other stories and all that shit. And it would sound pretty cool, but obviously, like the development of something that big would be expansive unless you decide to take some liberties or shortcuts on them. But it's been done in a couple games at least GTA being an example and Fallout being an even bigger example. Especially GTA, Fallout being a more risky one because there's the whole lore thing, but thankfully, You can create your own headcanon, the Lone Wanderer after, he saved the Capital Wasteland, he just wandered off, and he just somehow becomes the courier in New Vegas. There are some conflicting stories with the DLC, but I mean, thanks to some modders, maybe interjecting their own shit and whatnot, and that, it's like there's not really that much backstory between the characters, at least a courier, that is, unless you play the DLCs. You could just make a half-ass assumption that, okay, it's the same character, they just pick up different titles from one city to the next. But a bigger dream is, if it ever fucking happens, it'll probably take like 20 fucking years, but just the Tale of Three Wastelands. Fallout 4, New Vegas, and 3 all in one. Especially with people updating the two older games in the fucking creation engine for 4. Massive undertaking, but I mean, there's still, the difficulty of trying to explain that lore reasoning. Like, how the fuck does the courier slash lone wanderer suddenly have a fucking family he has to protect? How is he in fucking 2050s, and then all of a sudden, boom, 200 years in the future because he was cryogenically frozen? Like, how do you explain all of that? Unless they manage to loop in such a way. Maybe they can, like, try moving it somehow. Maybe that's how they could do it. That's an idea. Maybe, like, move that segment in 4 to the very beginning. He gets cryogenically frozen. Maybe he just gets moved to Vault 101, and his memories are just fucked around a little bit. Write this down, modders. You may be able to fucking do it. But back to the broader spectrum. I mean, I feel it could be pretty cool for some games. Like, I'm trying to think of a couple right now here. I know that type of thing was kind of done with an older game that I read about, like the original Pokemon. With its sequel, it lets you go back to the original first island, which I thought sounded kind of cool. I'm surprised they managed to do something like that for such an old game. But using Assassin's Creed as a potential, like, template, my dream for an Assassin's Creed, like, combination of everything would just be a supercut of Ezio. Like, there's the Ezio trilogy that was released for PS4 and Xbox One. It'd be nice if they went a step further, whether it be, Ubisoft themselves, which I highly fucking doubt it, or modders themselves. Given that would be a little bit more complicated, because I know the systems between one game to the next are a little bit finicky in terms of combat and all that shit. But just imagine like a supercut, a definitive edition of Ezio's Tale, where you just combine everything into one game. It's just streamlined game. For starters, remove the modern segments and remove Desmond. As much as we love that modern story, at least for Desmond's Tale, remove that fucking shit. It'll just add in too many fucking breaks in the story. And just combine all the sequences. Like, how many sequences were there? I think there was like 14 for 2, 9 for Brotherhood, and then what? 7 or 8 for Revelations. That's like over 30 sequences. Yeah, just have them all in one file. Just have everything there. And obviously, if you go for the first several sequences, it's Assassin's Creed 2, and then boom, you fucking take out Borgia, you go through that underground thing where you meet those who came before holograms. Boom, you just jump right into Brotherhood, and then finally, once you're towards the end of Brotherhood, there's just like a small cut maybe, and then boom, you just see Ezio on a fucking ship going to Messiah. And of course, you want to go a step farther. Maybe redo the Assassin's Creed Embers thing, where maybe instead of being a CGI, 20-minute video, just make it like a bunch of cinematics towards the end. I mean, come on. If Metal Gear Solid can do it with giving us like a 2-hour-long fucking movie for an epilogue, we can do that with Assassin's Creed. But do that for Ezio, and boom, the ultimate Ezio cut. Nothing but his story, from the day that he's born, coming out of his fucking mother, throwing fists in the air, to the day he dies on a fucking bench. It would just be so fucking nice. And, you know, obviously being able to, like, go back to previous areas. Imagine, like, all the extra gameplay systems. You can add in, like, an extra gameplay system where you can actually rebuild Monterione and have that back again as extra passive income. Recover your original armor of Altair. Have all the weapons from all those games into fucking one. Yeah, I just feel like there could be a lot of cool shit that you could add in there. I mean, fucking God forbid, have the ability to buy up the shops in Florence, Venice, just have a complete monopoly all over fucking Italy. Um, yeah, I mean, just like combine like all this shit in like a big, massive fucking game, like all the maps, all the side content. I mean, obviously, some of it would be a little bit daunting. It would definitely be a big game. You'd be looking at least. Let me look to see how many fucking hours I had. For, yeah, like an average of like 28 hours on average for each game. You're looking at least a 100-hour plus event if you decide to do everything. But I feel at least with Ezio's story, it would be a lot more enjoyable than like what 100-hour playthrough through Odyssey, because at least the story will be fucking awesome. You can flesh out a couple things for Ezio's shit maybe, and it would just be fucking massive. But that's just my small dream for like a supercut of Ezio, a what if of combining all the maps. I mean, obviously it's on a lot grander scale. It's not just, you know, bringing the maps, you're also bringing the stories and the gameplay and the weapons. But wheeling on back to my original topic for the video, I just love going on fucking tangents, if you couldn't tell. It can apply to a bunch of other games. I know some modders are trying to, like, add in the maps from the other Elder Scroll games into one. You could probably look at some other games. It'd be nice if you could, like, revisit some of the other areas and say Persona, for example. You know, like, revisit some of those maps. I mean, given they're completely different games and different engines, but I mean, who knows? Some people could fucking try. What other games could there be? Maybe in the case of like those remastered titles, like say Spyro. Since I'm literally looking at the Reignited trilogy over here, um, just revisit the older areas, like how just like be one self-contained game and just revisit them at will, especially if, like some of the newer abilities in the later games. You know, I think the Reignited trilogy is more of a same across all titles. I don't know. I guess I would have to think about in terms like what open world games have some good maps and like depending on like the engines for it, you know, which ones could benefit from like going back to earlier areas. But I just like it as an idea, you know? Especially even if, you know, it's on like a small scale, like again, back to fucking Rogue. Just go back to the Caribbean at will and experience those old areas, especially if they have like their original placements for items. I don't know how that would conflict with the collectibles from, you know, the game itself. But it would just I guess it just appeals to me because it would be nice to revisit some of those older areas in a slightly better engine, even if it's just padding or completely pointless. But I don't know. I just want to get that off my chest. As some ramblings you can think over. Maybe it'll give you some ideas as to some games that could benefit from having like the older maps from the game that was released a year or two prior and just put into it. I don't know, but the manager's clocking out for a bit. Usual, like it, dislike it, comment, subscribe, give me your ideas, whatever. Hope you enjoyed the video. Well, not video, audio log, ramblings, blah. Whatever, I'm out, bye.